Hello, everyone, and this is the first video on the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. You wonder if Geotech is doing OSSD? My God, yay! Okay, all right, okay, it's fine, it's fine. Okay, so I've been pressured to do this. Sir, you have to do this. Sir, you have to do this. Sir, you have to do this. Okay, so this is me doing it, right? Okay, but it's good. If you're doing OSSD, I think welcome. This is a good place to do your OSSD, I guess. So yep, this is good. It's good. So we'll begin with. Normally, we're supposed to start from the very beginning, but I will try as much as possible to bring everything together right here on this YouTube channel. And so that simply means that if you're an OSSD student and you have not subscribed, you really want to do that now because Tech is really coming up with OSSD, and which is the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, and you don't want to miss it. Okay, so today we're going to be looking at something very unique. Today we're going to be looking at variable and input. So I'll probably just write it here then. Probably do this. Okay, I'll do this. So yes, so that simply means I will just do this. So I have right here variable. Let me make this thicker. Variables and input. Okay, so it's important for us to understand this. This is so important because essentially, when we talk about variables, they are more or less like a container, right? More or less like a container. And as we keep going, right, as we keep going, we would see all those things that we're talking about. Okay, so okay, so there are so many things that we need to talk about, but I'll try as much as possible. There are two topics before this. That is the mathematical calculation. What operation does it make use of? Of course, I'm just going to tell you for free. It makes use of the bed mass, which is PED, and then your mass, and then there's a certain operation which it goes through, and then we'll go through all those things, right? So we'll just begin to deal with variables and input. Okay. So, and of course, I'm going to tell you what we use is the Anaconda Navigator, and then we're using the Jupyter Notebook for this. So this is very important. So let me underline this. Okay, so now they are essentially, right here, they're essentially types of data. That's what we're going to work with. There are types of data here, types of data. Now, when we talk about the types of data, right, these are data in which the user, right, will ask the users to be able to input, okay, and it's important for us to know the types of data, what we call your data types. Okay, so essentially we have different types of data that we can get from the keyboard that the user is going to input. Okay, so we have the one that has to do with the whole numbers, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, and we have the integer. Okay, so we have the integer on it, and then we have the float, which are decimal numbers as much as possible. So we have the decimal number on it. I think I can just do this so that everything will be let me just expand this so that I want everybody to see this. Okay, let me do this. Good. So everybody can be able to see this. Okay. So we have the float. So we have float. Okay. So essentially, this again is what your whole numbers. Please take note of that. They are your whole numbers. And this float, right, are what your decimal floats are what your decimal numbers. Okay, they're your decimal number. And then we have other ones here. We have your boolean, and your boolean are what, true or false. Okay, your boolean are true or false. We also have the next one called strings. Strings. Okay, we have strings. Now when we talk about strings, they are set of characters. Your strings are what, set of what, characters. Set of characters joined to form words. To form what, words or sentence. Okay, so it's important that we know this. Okay, so let me scroll up and then we can let's reduce this a bit. Okay, so I can just divide this. Okay, so during a program operation, data must be stored, okay, and manipulated in the computer memory. Okay, so this is very important. So during the course of this operation, okay, data must be stored and manipulated in the computer memory. And this is really important because you cannot access, right, the computer memory location directly. You can't access it, right? You can't access it, right? So you need to what? You need to define what we call a variable. I'll give you an example. So you probably have x equals to 2. This is an example. And okay, I think I can just take this up. So you probably have what, x equals to what, 2. So you cannot you can't what, access the computer memory what, directly. You can't access it directly. Okay, so you need to what, define what we call what, a what, variable to represent that location. So you can see that 2 now is stored in the memory of what, of x. So but you can't access this, right? You can't access that memory directly. So you need something to be able to what, you need to what, to define this variable, okay, to represent what, the data that is stored what, in this what, location. Okay, so and also it's important that when we are what I call the naming convention. So I have what, naming what, convention. Okay, so there's a naming convention where we are using variables in a program. Okay, and that simply means that we cannot just give any name to any variable as a variable. No, you can't just give any name as a variable. So that simply means that, okay, what are those things? The following here are those naming conventions when we are using these variables in our program. Okay, so the first one we'll look at here is start or begin with a lowercase, with a lowercase what, letter. The next one is you cannot, okay, you cannot use space, okay, right? So you cannot use space. So you can't do something like this. For example, you can't do a gyro tag. No, you can't do that. Okay, you can't do that. So it simply means that if you want to have multiple words, such as this, right? If you want to have multiple words, such as this, in the name, then it simply means that there are two things you can do. So what are those two things you can do here? You can each word, right? Um, each word. When we talk about each word, we mean each letter, by the first letter, right? What are each word after the first will be capitalized, After the first will be capitalized. We can also use each letter, right? First letters can be capitalized. The first letters can be capitalized. Okay. We can use an underscore to separate words. I hope we're learning, right? To separate words. So I'm going to underline this. So now let's look at this. Now, instead of having this, um, we can do this, or we can do this. They're all together, please. There's no space. And then, or we can just do this. Okay. All right. And again, one thing we need to notice is that with it, you cannot use space. And also, you cannot start with a number. Cannot start with a number. Okay. But may contain a number. Okay. But may contain what? A number. And of course, should have meaningful, meaningful names that represent the data you are storing. So this is very important, right? So you should have meaningful names that represent. You can't just give any name you want to give simply because um, um, I want to just give a name. I just want to give a name. For example, you can't just say please equals to no x or please equals to 2 plus 4. What's please? No, you cannot do that. Okay, because you have to give a name that describes what you are holding. Okay, and variable names are case sensitive. Okay, variable names are case sensitive. You need to understand that. So the variable names are what? Case sensitive. Okay, they are case sensitive. So I'll probably do this as one and then do this as two. So it's easier to do that. Okay, split this as well. It's easier for me to. Okay, okay. So they are case what? Sensitive. That simply means that when we talk about by case sensitive, it simply means that the name is different from name. What do I mean? Name is different from name. Notice the difference? A gyro is different from a gyro. That, oh, but there's no difference. I just put this uppercase and this lowercase. It is case sensitive. So you have to be careful. If the variable you gave was this, when you are getting that variable, right, you printing that variable, it must match the variable. This is very important. It must match the variable. Okay, so this is very important. Now, the next one is assigning values to variables. Assigning values assigning values to what? To variable. Now, when we talk about assigning values to variable, to assign a value variable, you begin with what? With the variable name. And I began with this. I began the whole session with what? With this. So for you to be able to assign a value, you would start with what? A variable name. Because remember when I said the fact that you can't access the computer memory. You can't access it. You can't access the computer memory location directly. You need to define a variable to represent that data location. So that simply means that for us to be able to assign values to variable, we must, right, we must define the variable name. That's what we are saying. We must what? Define what? The variable name. So note, to assign a value, you must start with the what? Variable name. Okay? And then use what? An equal sign. Okay? An equal sign followed by the what? Followed by the value you wish to assign. And I'll probably tell you how potent this is. So let's look at this. Let's look at this. So for example, we have sum equals to what? 2 plus 4. So this simply means that for us to be able to assign this value to variable, we have to start with the variable name, there's an equal sign, and then these are the values that we wish to assign. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so this is very important. And of course, remember when we talk about print, we print with a print, and of course, I'm going to show you all this as much as possible. Okay, so this is important. Now, another thing we need to understand is when we are talking about what a variable is, a variable is a letter or a word that is used to what represent a piece of data. It's just the same thing as mathematics. Okay, so that is what it is. Why we know that we can access that memory location directly, we need to define a variable. That variable now is a letter or a word that used to represent what? That piece of data. Okay, so I've talked about assigning. Let me underline some subtopics here, and this is the definition of variable. The next thing we want to look at is printing the values. How do we print the values? Right? Printing the values. Printing the values. Okay, so printing the values of variables. What do we use in printing the values of variable? So we use again the print. That's what we use. We use the print statement, right? We use what? The print what? Statement. So we use what? The print what? Statement. Okay? And don't just write the double quotes around the variable name. Okay? So this is important. So we use the print, and then there are other ways in which we can do that. Okay? So I would explain this. Now let's go back to our work. I think that this is better. Let's go back to our work. Again, I'm using the Anaconda Navigator. and I'm using the Jupyter notebook. Okay, so let's go back here. So this is something here. Good. So now you have something like this. Yes, printing the value. So we use the print statement to do this. Now, for example, we have this. These are the assigning values to variables. So we have numbers is 27, interest rate is 4.79, and finish is true. First name is a gyro, last name is ND. And notice the naming convention here. Can you see naming convention that we've just learned? Notice naming convention here. Now we use a print. So this one is to print the number. Now notice that we didn't put a quote. You don't put a quote with a variable name. It's important. You don't use double quotes around variable name. I'm going to note this. Note, you don't use double quotes around a variable name. No, don't do that. Okay, so you don't do that. So we just pick them here. So right here you have this, finish, you have this, and that you have this. So for printing, this is what is going to show, right? Now, however, we can combine it with printing messages. That simply means that we can say, okay, instead of it just giving us only the data, we can have a printing message and then we have the data. So that simply means we could have the number is this, right? And that was what we did here. So we have the number, and notice that it is what is in double quote. Okay, notice that it is what double quote. I can also do for this. Which one is this? Let's do for interest rate. Okay, so I'll call it. Let me do for interest rate to show you what I'm talking about. Let me do for that. Okay, so I have print. Print, and then here I have double quotes for the printing statement. The interest rate is, and of course you need to learn how to type fast, separated with a comma. So you use a comma to separate it from the printing statement and the variable name. So you have what? Interest rates. If you don't type it exactly, you're not going to get the result. Now if I run this, is it going to work? Let me run this. Now, notice that it gave me an error. Why? It said number, name error. And this is the beauty of the Jupyter Notebook. It will give you, it's going to define to you the error message. It said, sorry, look at it. It said number is recognized, most recent called last. So it said two here is the problem. The interest rate is what? Interest rate. Name, they said name error. Name number is not defined. Where is it? I have number here now, it's defined. Why is that? I have number name is defined. So what I have here is the interest is also defined as well. Okay, the interest is also defined as well. So let me stop this and let me run it. So I have my number here. Okay, so let me see this. Let me stop and let me run it. Okay, so there's an issue with number. Okay, so let me check. There's an issue with number. Was it not defined the same way? I'm just trying to check. Let me also stop this and let me check why line one is giving me that. So it's working now. It's working. And then let me check this. So this should work as well. Good, it's working. So again, I need to stop the kernel and then click on it. But I was saying that if we have this, for example, right? If we have this and I'll stop this and I'll run it, notice that it will show this. It's saying that the name interest rate is not defined. That simply means that there is no variable name that has interest rate. Now the rate, but you say, but You say, Gerald, it's the same thing. It's not the same thing because we've talked about the naming convention, right? And we said that name, or I said agile, is different from what agile. The name you gave, the variable name you gave when you were assigning that value to that memory location is the name you would use in capturing, in printing that program. It's the same thing. So that's why we have this as what. And if we do this now, let's stop the kernel and then let's run it. It's going to work. Now, notice I give a space. If I don't give a space here and I stop this and I run it, okay, stop, run, it will still give us the same thing, right? It will give us the same thing. So it's still the different. However, if you want to create more space, all you can do is do a space here, stop, and then you will have more space to this. Okay, so this is important. All right. So this is important. Okay. Now the next thing we want to talk about is getting data. Okay, is getting data values from the user as they run what the program. So most computers don't just define the data in the program itself. They don't just define data in the program itself. There is often that interaction between the program and what the user. Do you understand? There's that they don't define the program itself. They want that there's always that engagement between okay, what is the user going to give us and what are we going to display at the end of the day. So this can be accomplished by having the user to type in values. Okay, and of course, that particular value in the program is going to be stored in the memory and they will do something with it. So this is being accomplished by what we call the input statement in Python. So we use the input statement in what? Python. And now we have an example here. So for example, I gave faith color, right? Just to say, okay, what's your favorite color? Right? So faith color is what? Input. Now this input simply means that you want the user to be able to type in what? Something from the keyboard, right? And then to print this, we have what? An output statement and then the variable name. Okay, and then what? The variable name. So we can do something here to say, okay, favorite color, we can say fav1. Okay, so fav1, right? We said it should not be given a number, but it can contain a number. And then we have fav color 2. Fav color 2 is going to be what? Input, right? Okay, so now we are having two things here. So now let's do this. Okay, so we have we don't have any print here, so we just have the inputs here. So let me stop the kernel and let me run it again. It's going to ask me, so I'm going to say purple. Okay, and then the next one is what you see. We have purple here as the input, and then we have what orange. So purple or what orange. I don't really like orange. I'll just go with black. I like black. So purple or black. So now you know my favorite color. So we have purple here and you have what? Black here. So now check this with the print statement. You see that the user what? Favorite color is. So we're going to change this to the user's first favorite color is fav1. Now, if we print this, let me stop the kernel and let me run it. It's not going to work because, again, this is not defined. We have changed this, so that simply means that we have to change this. I will just hit on 1. And then I'll come here again to print. Okay. And then I have what? The user's second favorite color. Okay. Favorite color is. Okay. And then I have comma. I have what? Fifth color 2. So if I stop and run, you see that we have both of them here. So we have purple and we have black. Okay, so this is very important and you get the gist. As much as possible, you have this. So again, we can also do it in such a way that we can give the user an idea of what to impute. What are we saying? So we can say a print, enter your favorite color instead of just saying type. The user may not even know that you're talking about favorite color because there's nothing. It's just showing that you have to type in something. So it's important for you to give an instruction for the user to say, okay, impute this for me. Okay, impute this for me. So now if I want this, let me stop the camera. I want this. You say, okay, please enter your favorite color. So I can now say, okay, purple. And if I hit on enter, it will show, it will then show what? Purple. Okay, so now for this, I would now say, okay, fifth color. Now I can say, okay, instead of doing this differently, please enter your favorite color. You have the print, you have the fifth color. I can now do this. I can now say, okay, the fifth color with the input. And under the input, I would now give a space in which the user can be able to input this. So what do I Let me stop the canal, let me run it. So can you see this? So now, what I'm simply saying is, I'm now directing where the user should put this. Now, the reason why I gave this space here, if I do this, let me show you something. If I do this, let me stop the canal and let me run it. You'll see that it's clustered together. So I want that little bit of space between what the user is going to input and the instruction for it as much as possible. So I'm going to stop the canal and I want it, and then we have it. So if I do purple, now instead of doing it in the next line, it will now be in the same line. Do you see that? So these are various ways on which we can just put them together. Instead of saying print, fifth color, and then input, we can just say, okay, the fifth color is equal to what? The input, and then we give what? That instruction. How do we convert strings to numbers? This is important. So all data in the keyboard as a string, all data is read into the keyboard as strings by default. Okay, and we say that your strings are what? Are characters or words. So it doesn't matter if you're going to display the data. So to convert them to numbers, we need to use data types. That simply means that if it's going to be an integer, we have to use int. If it's going to be a decimal number, we have to use float. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so Python can just add two words together, even though the words might be two and three. So if you want to input integers or float, you have to convert them to what? Strings first. Okay, so for example, now you have whole numbers, and instead of doing that, watch if I remove this, I say okay, enter your. Let me do this. Enter. Let me run this. Stop. Run, and I put 12. Okay, right? So whole number is going to just put that there. Now, if I want to convert it to numbers, I will have to do this int. Okay, so that it's going to hold. So if I stop this and I run it and I put in 12, you see that we have this, right? So this is more appropriate when we are converting this to what? To number. It's still the same thing. For float, if I do this and I put 23, it's going to convert it to decimal for me, right? So this one simply means give. If you don't put the integers, it will just give me whatever number this person is typing. Let me show you something. Come on, of you that. So what's the point? Now look at this. 12.5, and let hit on enter. It's going to. Can you see that? It's showing what? Invalid. Because this is not what? An integer. This is not what? A float. So for it to be able to hold this, we have to stop this and come again and say 12, and if we hit on enter, it's going to work. For this, for this as well, if we stop this and hit on this and do 12, look at what happens. Please enter a decimal, right? Because we gave an instruction, please enter a decimal, we're having 12. Okay, so if I stop the kernel and run it again, if I do 12.5, it will be able to hold 12.5, unlike the other one that had what? Integer. So what are those common errors we might encounter? So the common errors we might encounter are probably where we're having to convert to input. So let's look at this. I think this has been fixed as well. So we have 12. So this has been fixed. And then we have this other one for float, right? Please enter the cost of your purchase, which will have to put them in decimal numbers. Okay, so this is very important. Now we have another way of doing this as well. So we have the a num, for example, Float, please enter a decimal. Your number, then we can print it to see your number is actually this. So let's stop the kernel and let's run it. So you have 12, okay, or 12.5, and then we have a print to say, okay, your number is actually what? This. Are we together? Okay. Then we have another one. Enter a statement. Okay, you want to enter a statement, you entered message. So for example, I can say, okay, welcome to Agile Tech. So if I hit an enter, it will display what? Please enter a message. So we have this. So there's an error here because of what the variable name, right? So it's so important for you to know how to fix them. So welcome to Agile Tech, and you entered welcome to Agile Tech. So this is just the whole idea. So we had the practice here, practice question. The first and last name, they let's say enter your first and last name. So that simply means that what we did here was the name, enter your first and last name, and then we print that your name is this. Okay, now if you notice the hash here is simply to make it as what? A comment. Okay, it's simply to make it what? As a comment. Why this other one is birthday? So enter your what? They said your birthday should be day, month, day, and what year of your birthday. So what we did here, as much as possible, is there were two things we did. Two things we did here. So here we have okay, we just enter a game board, so that was quite easy. So this one is input here is enter your birthday, and then print your birthday is your birthday. Okay, we can also add instruction separating with DDMMY. So we can add here to say, okay, format. Okay, we can also okay format, and then we can do DD. Okay, we can do format is DD for for YYYY. Okay, so let me show what I'm talking about. So let me undo this, and let me do this. So let me add hash here, make this a comment, and then we can do this. So let me stop the kernel and let me run it. So here now we have this, so we can do 21 slash, okay, let's do when this video was recorded. So 18, 12, 20, 24. So that's my head date. So I'm going to run it. So now you see that, sorry, let me do this. So now you see that the birth date is, let me see. Oh, sorry, this is a different one, sorry. So you see that if I hit on enter, okay, this is what I'm talking about. So your birth date is 18/12/2024. Now I can remove this right here. Okay, so I think that's fine. Just to space them across. Let me run it again. So let me do 18 for 12/2024. And if I hit on enter, would have literally this as much as possible. Okay, so let me see. The birthday, this first, where is this other one coming from? Okay, sorry, I was wondering, I was looking at this. So let me do this. So this is what I'm talking about. Okay, there's a space here, right? This is the print here. Your birth date is, so I gave a space here. I can just remove that space because the space here is too much. And then I'll run the kernel again. Stop, run it. So I have 18, 12, 2024. So we have this. Your birth date is this. Now say what? List of all three items you like for your birthday. So here we have item one, name of the first item, um, item price, okay, the price of the first item. So this simply means that when we are printing this, let me put this in comment so you can see. Let me put this in comment. So when we are printing this, so here we have item one price. So the name of the first item, when you're having more than one, comma, item one to this, and the price of the first item is item price. So if we're going to run this, so here we have, so let's say we have laptop, okay, and the price of the laptop is probably um, £300, right? So if we hit on enter, you see that name of the first item is laptop, and the price of it is what is £300. Okay, so the practice second question is, they said write a code that asks the user for the month, full, the day, and the year. Display the input as year, date, and month. The year, date, and month. So what I did here was the year, okay, the date, okay, the month, and then if I'm printing this, so we did what we call concatenation, right? So we're able to bring them together using a plus, okay. However, it didn't give us. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is something. Let me. Okay, so let me add hash here, and let me do this. So it didn't give us what I wanted. So I'm going to stop this and I'll run it again. It didn't give us what I wanted. So let's say 2024, the date is 21. Okay, let's just go with 18, and the month is December. Now, when we did this, okay, so this is better now because again we're able to use the escape character, right? This will also give us what we want. So this will also give us the escape character. So this simply means that we have ye, merging this together. Now this simply means here that we should escape. This should be included in the program. So we have escape. When we are looking at it on other topics which we are going to talk about, I think it's mathematical control or screen and output. I would explain this as well. So we have this to escape, okay, and then this will also work, okay. So we have um, 24, 18. This again, this is what they said: year, date, and month. So this will also work: year plus adding this, and then escaping this plus this plus this. Now if we do this here, right, and I will stop the kernel and I'll run it again, I have 2024, I have 18, I have December. You see that it's also giving us, because again we don't call it format string. So now this means format string. This means that there's a format here, right? And all we have to do is pick the variable names to be here with a curly bracket, right? And then you can now separate it with, right, double, the double backward slash, still escaping one of them, right? And that would work. Now, if we use this, can you see that it's not working? So you have to use both of them. Okay, so I hope this is fine. So we are done with these variables and input. Thank you.